In 1989, Japan was so rich that its land alone was worth 4 times the entire land of the United States of America. Japanese companies owned 6 out of the top 10 spots on the global market cap list. Japan was about to beat America as the world's biggest economy. Fast forward to today, Japan has 10,000 company bankruptcies in a single year. They're closing 450 schools every year because there are no children. How does the country that nearly conquered the global economy end up in this kind of collapse? And what must India learn before it's too late? That's exactly what we're breaking down today on Danda Decoded. Stay till the very end. The final lesson about India will genuinely shock you. Subscribe right now and ring that bell so you never miss a case study like this one on India's biggest stories. To understand Japan's story, we go back to 1949. Millions were starving, cities were in ruins, and the economy was dead. It was an apocalypse. But America feared a desperate Japan would turn communist, so they made a historic decision. They would turn Japan into a capitalist miracle. They pumped billions into factories, handed over blueprints for high-tech electronics, and opened US markets completely to Japanese goods. The result was a miracle. In just 20 years, Japan beat the UK and France to become the world's third largest economy. They were unstoppable. By the 80s, Japanese cars had captured 23% of the US market. America was terrified. Japan had become an existential economic threat. But success brought a target on their back. Next, in 1985, everything changed. Under pressure from America, Japan signed the Plaza Accord. This single document doubled the yen's value, making Japanese exports twice as expensive overnight. Japan faced a crisis. To survive the shock, the government slashed interest rates from 5% to just 2.5%. They wanted to flood the market with cheap money to keep businesses alive. But instead of investing in new technology, that cheap money flooded the stock and real estate markets. Every Japanese citizen suddenly felt like a financial genius. The Nikkei index shot from 6,000 points to nearly 39,000 in just a few years. It was a 500% return. People stopped building and started gambling. Even giants like Toyota and Nissan went off script. 30% of profits were coming from stock trading, not selling cars. They were no longer building, they were speculating. The bubble was growing, but it was built on paper. In 1990, the pin finally hit the balloon. The government raised interest rates to 6%, and the machine that built the bubble began to eat itself. All hell broke loose. Companies like Nissan suddenly faced $20 billion in debt. Their collateral, the land and stocks they used for loans, had lost 70% of its value overnight. Sony was trapped. They had bought Columbia Pictures for billions just before the crash. By 1994, they had to write off nearly $3 billion in losses. Toshiba, the king of memory chips, was paralyzed by debt. While they drowned, Samsung poured money into low-cost production and took the crown forever. Japan's GDP didn't just stop growing, it shrank by $1 trillion over the next 30 years. Average income has not risen since 1995. The crash was only the beginning of the nightmare. When the economy failed, Japan made a second mistake. Instead of letting broken companies go bankrupt, they panicked and kept them alive on life support. Banks gave new loans just to pay the interest on old loans. These were zombie companies. By the early 2000s, 1 in 3 Japanese firms was a zombie. This destroyed growth. While America funded companies like Google, Japan was funding dying department stores. They fell into an innovation black hole. It created a lost generation. Graduates spent a decade working part-time jobs at 7-Eleven, never developing the leadership skills the economy needed. The social cost was devastating. Marriage and birth rates collapsed. Japan's births fell to 680,000, crossing the point of no return. Japan's demographic dividend turned into a trap. So what are the lessons India must learn? 1. We must allow inefficient companies to fail through robust bankruptcy laws. 2. We must never be over-dependent on a single trading partner. Japan was wiped out by a single accord with America. India must diversify its trade aggressively and fix the inefficiencies in our bankruptcy code before zombies emerge at scale. Lesson 3 is the most alarming. Today, more than 50% of India's graduates are considered unemployable. We are creating our own version of Japan's lost generation. Japan's lost generation came from economic disaster. India is creating one through a broken education system in peacetime. We must fix this before our demographic dividend turns into a trap. The lessons of Japan are written. The only question is, are the policymakers of India paying attention? Our future depends on the answer. If you learned something today, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe to Danda Decoded for more stories that matter. See you next time.